Hey guys, this is the Scholar General, Bing. So today is an extra special video because I have a rattan shield, or a tongue pai. Now, a little over a year ago, I made a couple videos about the rattan shield. You can check those out over here. I'm in America now, and it's pretty hard to get a hold of a rattan shield because it's very expensive and costly and just difficult to ship an item that's this awkwardly shaped and sometimes quite large. So this is one that I made myself. Now, it's a first attempt, so it has a couple issues, but in the future, I'll be making another one, and I'll be making a video about how to make your own rattan shield and weave it yourself. So make sure you stay posted and check out that when it comes out. But for today's video, I wanted to talk about how many Kung Fu forms actually hide techniques for the rattan shield. This is mostly about forms that you'll see with the single saber, where someone's waving the saber around doing their form. And I think there's particular movements within many of these forms that hide shield techniques in plain sight. I've learned the Bai Mei or Pak Mei white eyebrow style Kung Fu single saber form. And in that, whenever I was learning it, there's one particular application that explicitly mentioned the form. And that was a move where you're here, and then you stab over, and then go through. This move that I was taught in the form that explicitly mentions the use of a shield actually talks about stabbing over a shield, and it kind of says you can grab your opponent's shield and stab over it. But I think that it also works perfectly well if you have your own shield. So I'm here in this low stance with my shield in front of me, and I do an overhead thrust over their shield, and then I follow through. Now, if I'm in an actual fight with a shield, I'm probably not going to want to throw my arm back behind me and leave myself exposed. So I would likely, I'm here, I stab over, and I go through here, or I can go over and cover my head. There's a few different ways you could do it, but the main idea is you're here and you go over the shield. So that's the only move that I learned which talked about, the shield, the use of the shield. But I think that many other postures and moves from this form also show shield use. For example, one of the first motions that you do right here, this position, if I was actually in a fight, I would not feel that, this is the safest position to be in. I know that there can be grappling applications for this offhand, but much of the time it can also be used with a shield. And here I have the most important thing is that I take my sword and I tuck it under my elbow or put it at my hip. And this translates perfectly into shield use. Now, if I'm doing my form and I come over here, I land in this position with my, sword tucked behind my shield. And this is something that we see in many sword and shield systems across the world. Especially, I know, particularly in European, historical European swordsmanship and others like Tuareg and other things. And this can be useful position because if I'm here, the only way I can make cuts to this side is to go over maybe like this, or come over like this, and hiding or putting my shield back here, or putting my sword underneath my shield here, allows me to do cuts here, or here, and I can get a few more options that way. So the next position that I get to is I come here, and then I go here. Now, the only reason I would want to maybe put my hand out like this if I'm fighting someone in a duel is if I'm trying to lure them in to cut my hand, because that's what they're going to do. I'm hanging my hand out here around their sword. That's pretty dangerous. But it makes perfect sense to do this with the shield. The next one is from here, I lift over, cut, and then go here. Now, this position is extremely useful with shield, because it's, putting the shield in front of me. And depending on the size of my shield and how it's done, I can also hide my sword behind my shield. And that allows me to, come over or possibly slip underneath or, do all kinds of different types of techniques with that sword hidden back. The next couple moves that you do in the form are a cut like this and a cut like this. Now, both of these cuts can also be done with the shield in a couple different ways. If we look at these starting cuts, I can cut here, straight across, or, I can cut here and keep my shield up, or I can actually turn over and cut underneath like this and fold up like this. So there's a few variations that you could come up with, but the main thing is thinking about how your offhand, when you do the form, can be done with the shield in hand. After I make my cut here, I then take a step back and I do this, followed up by a cut like this. Now I think that these moves can also be done with the shield. So for these last two, I'm here and I can step back and do this. So this might look a little strange, but what I'm actually doing is I'm drawing back, I'm covering my head with the shield, and then I'm occupying the midline by moving my sword into it. So I'm actually quite well protected because I'm either blocking with my shield or moving my sword in the way of anything incoming. The main vulnerability with that move would be an incoming thrust. But if there is one, I can just, come over and switch things up. Now, for the last move, I step down and I cut like this. Once again, if I'm using a shield, I wouldn't feel as safe throwing it way back behind me like that. Not that it could never be done, but I would much prefer to step and maybe put it over my head, or step and just keep it here and do a couple of different things. The main thing is I want to kind of keep the shield mostly in between me and my adversary. Maybe not all the time, but much of the time. Alright everybody, so that wraps it up for this video. Thank you all for watching. I look forward to seeing all your comments below. Please subscribe and don't forget to stay sharp.